Okay, I'm a couple minutes early, and now a couple seconds early. Morning, everybody. How you all doing? So, we are back. It's been a couple weeks since everyone's been together. Obviously, the week before last, we didn't do the show at all. Capital Jazz Fest, Brother Barry was in those streets doing his thing, and we couldn't make it work. And that's okay. It's going to happen every now and again. Then we came together last week. Again, Brother Barry was out there in the streets doing his thing. So we pressed on without him, but he is back with us this week. I talked to Rodney yesterday, as I normally do on Friday. So pretty sure he's going to be here at some point whenever he wakes up. And then Sister Rashi was curious about how she was going to get in this week. So looking forward to welcoming her in as well. Trying to get better with the timing issue and some other things. Uh, Definitely going to really dig into this thing more because now we're at that 6 month point. We need to be real, almost as comfortable as Thomas Berry was when he was doing a rant first thing in the morning, dropping news clips and all that type of jazz. And so we're going to do that. We're coming fresh off of Father's Day. We'll talk about that. Ali Sadiq, if you're not familiar with the comedian, please check him out. He's funny. He's funny. And actually, I've never. He used to tour with DL Hughley, and I can't remember if I've met him back in the day or not. But one way or the other, he seems to be a very solid dude. So please support the brother. He has another brother that he brought out, Marcus D. Wiley. Funny is all giddy up. Clean comedian, funny is all giddy up. Definitely support both of those some straight up dudes, some straight up good dudes. I'm saying. So definitely give them their flowers while they're with us and they're here. This week was kind of rough. Got back from Dallas late. Let me tell you something. First off, I got to stop picking a late flight to come back to Atlanta. Almost all the time that flight is delayed. The worst part, though, the worst part of being delayed coming in late to Atlanta is they actually shut the plane train down at a certain hour. So depending on what concourse you're on, you got to hoof it back to baggage claim, and that ain't cute at all. So yeah, started off a little rough on Monday, and I really didn't recover until Wednesday. My ass is getting old, and that's the long and the short of it. I am getting old, so I got to do better at that. My recovery time, so on and so forth. Saw the doctor twice this week about the ticker, and they put me on some medication on Friday until I get to the cardiologist to try to figure out what's going on with that. That threw me a little bit. I'll be honest with you all. It definitely threw me a little bit. You know, did not see that in my life at all, but it's one of those things that's here, so I got to deal with it. But I was a little thrown yesterday when Doc came in and was like, "Yo, we definitely need to get you in with the cardiologist, check out what's going on, yada yada yada." I thought it was something that was going to blow over, but just like the recovery from early in the week, the the weight of the years are really starting to come on me. I told my kids that a couple of years ago too. We were talking, and they were like, "Dad, why you sound like this?" And I was like, "Man, look, man, when you get older, you start thinking about the finish line because you definitely a hell of a lot closer to the finish line than you were the starting block. So you start thinking about your legacy. You start thinking about how you want people to remember you, what you want people to say about you, and so on. And now you have no control over those things, but you start thinking. Well, at least I started thinking about that more. Check out the shirt. This is the New Orleans Black Pelicans. The jersey. I'm sorry, not shirt. It's one of those things I decided to do this year as well. For the longest time, as you all know, I support Negro League Baseball. I got all kinds of stuff from Negro League Baseball. But I was very focused on just certain teams. If it wasn't Harlem, Harlem Stars, which is very difficult to find. If it wasn't Baltimore, I really didn't have a place for it. Kansas City Monarchs, obviously, I mean, that's the pinnacle of everything. I do have a Josh Gibson's jersey. I did switch over to the Black Yankees because the Harlem Stars did turn into the Black Yankees. I was fortunate enough to get a Harlem Globetrotters jersey, which was actually a baseball team. The Globetrotters basketball team actually had a baseball element to it as well. I was fortunate enough to steal one of those along the way. Cost me a pretty penny, but I got it. And but this year I was like, you know what? There were so many other teams out here. How am I really to promote my love for the league if I just stay focused on those two teams for the most part? So I started branching out a little bit. Now I will not wear the Pittsburgh Crawfords. It is what it is. I'm a Ravens fan. I just certain things I cannot do. But outside of that, I'm pretty much open. Louisville had the Red Caps. I'm really looking for some of their stuff because that is very rare to find. The Washington Senators, I want to find some of their stuff because that too is very rare to find. However, I am going to Asia this year, so I may have to get some things custom while I'm over there, and I am not opposed to doing that at all. Just to spread the love and the understanding of the league, I'm not opposed to doing that at all. I'm cool with it. They done got way good portions of my money. I'm okay. I'm okay. Uh, but yeah, Father's Day again was what was it? Sunday. I was blessed. Had my two sisters there with me. My nephew came through. He's a first time. He's a new father. Yeah, this was his first Father's Day as a father. So had him come out and stuff. That dude is huge. So he went in the army year before last. Yeah, yeah, sounds right. Sounds right. Year before last. That sounds right. If not, it was last year. Goodness gracious, time flies. But one of the two. And that dude has gotten huge. You know, basic training shreds all that stuff from you. To be honest with you, they want you super thin, they want you super fit, whatever. But he's been able since he's been permanent party to get back in the gym, really bulk up and stuff. And that dude was huge. I was like, God dang, son, you like a damn tank. But yeah, that was good. It was really good to see him. You know, I talk to him, I call him, he calls me. But it was nice to actually see him and be able to interact with him face to face. That stuff is important to me. Again, as you get older, these things tend, well, for me, as I've gotten older, these things tend to mean more to me and stuff like that. So, uh, going back to Elisa D, so he has a joke about Father's Day being the worst holiday ever. He's like, it's like number 20 on the list. He's like, you know, Mother's Day is number one, then Christmas. So it's your mama, then Jesus. I can't even. The joke continues. I can't even think of other holidays that come before Father's Day, but Arbor Day is in front. I don't even know what Arbor Day is. That was fun. That's a funny ass joke. And but it goes to what we fathers go through. You know, oftentimes moms are thanked, moms are remembered, moms are praised. It's not often, it's not regularly that you hear fathers be pushed to the forefront. I didn't do this. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my dad. Blah blah blah. Coco Golf has something going on right now with her father, and that was nice. That was nice to see that campaign going on right now. That was really cool. Uh, there were a lot of great folks. Thank you, Marlon. Thank you very much. Thank you. Father's Day is last on the list. Yeah, it is. It damn sure is. You know what it is. You know. Look, I said before Father's Day. I said at the last show, I was like, yo, you go in Wally World. There was a whole freaking section for Mother's Day. It was like 3 freaking aisles, both sides of the aisles. Mom, this, da 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 da. Man, you take your ass in there for Father's Day. It's one half of one row on one side for Father's. The rest of that crap was camping stuff. It was outdoor stuff. It was chairs and grills and what the hell? So Father's Day, you take your ass out. They expect you to take your ass out, get on the grill and cook something. It's Father's Day. Where do we expect mothers to cook for Mother's Day? Please, what mother you know gonna run around here and cook on Mother's Day? You better sit your ass down. It's Mother's Day. I ain't cooking nothing. Come on now. Let's be real. It ain't gonna happen. It just ain't gonna happen. And that's okay. That is 100% okay. It's the way it's supposed to be, and we eat it. You know, I told my son, I was like, yo, one of the the fatherest things you can do on Father's Day is take your ass to work. Like that's what we do. That is what we do. We are tasked to our best of our ability to provide and protect. And if that means we got to take our ass to work on Father's Day, then we up at it and gone to work on Father's Day. And it's the norm. Ain't nothing to do about it. Brother Barry, how was your Father's Day? Sister Rashi is in the building.
My Father's Day was, I'd say it was smooth. You know, we didn't do much on purpose. I wasn't about to slave over the grill. I wasn't about to, do a lot of whatever, because it was Father's Day. And I've been working like a crazy schedule as far as NAACP stuff. I had speaking engagements. I had Juneteenth. So I was like, man, look, I'm going to take this day off.
There you go.
I did the opposite of the John Henry syndrome. I'm not going to work myself to death.
Say that again.
And then rest in the afterlife. So it was smooth, man. And shout outs, happy belated Father's Day to you. I know I've already exchanged it on time, but
thank you, sir. Thank you.
I do feel like, the irony between Father's Day and Mother's Day is hilarious because the woman who created Mother's Day, she died fighting against the holiday because she created Mother's Day just to be an intimate thing between her and her mother. And they ended up throwing her into an insane asylum because she was upset that they took Mother's Day and they made it such a commercial thing. They made it about flowers and they made it about candy and jewelry. And she was like, that's not what I wanted this holiday for. This was about celebrating my own mother. It was more about an intimate thing between me and my mom. And, Hallmark and all of those other places, I think it was Branch Candy and all that, they was making a killing. And they was like, listen, it's going to be this capitalism over your feelings and you out of here. But then to watch how Father's Day plays out, it's almost like, yo, here's this screwdriver. Here's this wrench set. Hey, go fix the car. And
go fix the car. Go fix the garage door. You know what I'm saying? Here's your hint.
I know, buddy.
You know what I'm saying?
Father's Day is a reminder of all the stuff you didn't get done.
Hey man, you know that wash machine ain't gonna fix itself, dog. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I bought you all the tools. Yeah. Around here for. You know what I'm saying? Like, really? Today is about as good as day.
Yeah.
We don't get no love, man. We don't get no love.
Well, but you got to think about it though. The wealthy men who got all the bread is making the money off Father's Day, Mother's Day, or whatever. They celebrate 365. They always on a yacht. They always on a golf course. They hire people to get the screwdriver, to get the wrench, to fix the garage, to fix the car, to make the food, right? Raul, grill my steak, right? They got the chef or whatever the case.
Consuela, please clean up the dishes.
100%. So that's what that is. But I will say to the fathers out there, because I did give one of the days that I missed, I did give a speech on the importance of fathers and what have you. And one of the things that I said, and I want to share with the people quick, is not too many times do Black fathers hear, what do you want for your family? Man. Secondly, no one ever asks, what do you want for yourself as a father? And last, how can I help? And I feel like those three questions is what we must start asking men, even men who we feel like are absent. Because if you never ask a person what they want as far as desired outcomes for their family, then they don't have a mission. If you don't ask them what do they want for themselves, and men have to be disciplined and really be honest, and I'm learning that about myself. When someone asks me what do I want, explain what it is that I want, and don't worry about feeling selfish about saying, well, this is what I see, how I see things, or controlling, because I've had those words, used against me, and it's like, well, you wasn't really being controlling, you just had foresight of what you wanted. And the last thing is, how can I help you? Because we do a lot of criticism in this society. Like, critique is what Americans do, but that's a part of the capitalistic trait. That's why you get that wrench. That's why you get that that whole tool set, because you always have to be in the process of performance, right? And I think that men, those three questions, men need to not only ask one another, but also younger men, and I think women should ask as well, because I feel like that's what brings us together. When we say, "Hey, man, Lee, what would you like for your family? Lee, what would you like for yourself? Man, how can I help you?" Now, what I'm telling you, Lee, is you're not in it by yourself. That's the first thing. The other thing is now you get to sit back and think about what it is that you want for your family because you may never thought about it. And even more importantly, what do you want for yourself? And if we can start help crafting you to get there, then you show up better as a father because you're more happier. And I could tell you, as a father, when things are going the direction I want it to go, I'm a much better father, in my opinion, because I know the things that I want in life is to put my children as well as my significant other or my family in a position to do better. And I think that we need to ask more of that of fathers.
So the statement from one of the viewers is sometimes it seems we the only ones in the house forward thinking. I don't.
My brother Marlon.
I would. I would question. Yes. 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 Um. But I think that's because our mindset is more on the protectionism piece. So you have to be forward thinking when
Yeah,
you're thinking of protecting somebody. You're
yeah,
not as you're not as caught in the moment as someone whom is worried about a feeling. You
no
know what
doubt.
I'm saying? Feelings are fleeting, bro. So um, that's how that go. Yeah, and
No doubt.
but if you're always looking for that feeling, then you're only stuck on that moment. You're not looking ahead. So yeah, stuff like that would happen. Good point. Good point. Good point. Sister Rashi, morning to you, sis. How you doing?
I'm well. How you brothers doing today?
Doing
We're
well.
better. Thank you. We're better now that
Good
you're here
morning. Good morning to everybody listening. KC is a
and watching.
scorching
Remember, they
and
can see us
watching.
now.
That's right. That's right. Listening and watching. KC
Yeah.
is a scorching 87 right now at 10:16.
Oh, we got that.
So
We got that here too.
I'm kind of hibernated in the dark in the corner of my room with the windows covered up with sheets to stop the ultraviolet radiation from coming through. And because it's real. I mean, I wish I've said it before, and I want y'all to listen. Even black folks is finna have to wear sunscreen, not because we don't want to be brown. That's not the message. The message is we don't want to be cancerous tumor masses of walking cancerous tumor, and so
Right.
we have to start thinking about our relationship to the sun. And I ain't trying to say we go the North Korean way, because it's some Asian people that wrap all their body up like Michael Jackson used to before he go outside. But something has to happen between us and the sun. Other than that, I wanted to speak to one thing about that Father's Day uh, conversation you all were having,
Hmm.
because it would, and I'm not trying to be on that black women have to be fathers too type bullshit either. I just want you to hear that. Uh, Maybe I can phrase it this way: Black men have done a really good job of training black women to do not the priming, grooming part that men do with other men, but also of that other stuff, like you were talking about, the fixing of the washing machine, the changing of the this or that. I have watched black women become quite resilient in their capacity in the household and in business and in education. So when I when I hear people be able to say it feels like in their capacity that they're the only ones thinking about tomorrow in the future and what will can and will be happening, I worry about people who are turning their negative lens so hard that they don't see black women are mechanics now. I mean, not because not like that's their job, but they just fix their own. They sat there and they watched the damn video, 3 or 4 of the videos, and then they start getting the parts together, and then they change their own oil, right? and then they put their own new light bulb into the back so they don't get a ticket. I'm not saying they dropped a new motor in there, Thomas. I'm saying that some of the things that we used to say, my man gonna help me, my man got me. We figured out a way to get it ourselves. We figured out a way and I think it should be more appreciated. We figured out a way to glue the gap together as best we could for men who either, now let's talk, were there in the home, loving, good men, right? But he got to go to work, so you got to do your part. Or he's one of those guys, because you're a military man, Lee, you know better than most. He's at work, but he's not there. But he'll send you the money. You get the check. You get your own separate check, I believe, or something. You get your own rations when you're married to a military man. So but so there's allotments, but the individual is very seldom there. Okay, all right. So then we got the man who has chosen. He looked at her. He looked at her. He looked at the kids. He looked at the house. He said, "Hell no." You understand? And he just chose a different reality for himself. Not she's bad or they're bad or not. He just said, I personally can't do this. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna send her some money when I can, right? But I can't live like this. Then there's another whole dude. He's got. Hey, did y'all ever watch that show, Yanla, Fix My Life? The dude with the 38 kids.
Yes.
Did you ever see the episode, Mr.
Yes.
Barrett, with the 38 kids?
I'm sorry, Sister Rashi. I don't even mean to
So
be.
he's a man. So he's a man who's had. So when you look at the idea of a father, y'all say father, and y'all putting it all in that first hard working, loving, caring in the home, did his best type feel good place. But I feel like you're not allowing for the full spectrum of what fatherhood has become within the black family.
Rashi,
And until we start talking about it like
Rashi,
in its full
Rashi,
spectrum,
Rashi. If I came on here every time you brought up women and brought up the worst of women, it would be unacceptable. And I'm not trying to be combative, but all we said was asking fathers, what do they want for their families? What do they want for themselves? And how can we help? That's
right.
hold on, sister. Because every time we bring up black men, you go to the worst of black men possible. You brought up a brother who got 38 kids. And none of the men probably watching or on this show would have said that that's acceptable. And so we got to have a mutuality of the men that's in the room. And sometimes what I feel like what happens is black women want to be pat on the back for everything that y'all do. But black men can never have a moment. And we didn't even say fathers were great. We didn't say fathers were the best or anything. Marlon said sometimes it seems we are the only ones in the house forward thinking. And he's speaking probably from a personal aspect and some of the things that's anecdotally happening with him, which if that's his experience, that's his experience. And I know other men who had that experience. But sometimes we got to get out of this. Like, this is why everybody else think lowly of us. It's like you can never have a moment with black men. All I simply just said was, can black men ask these 3 questions? All Lee talked about was the tool sets. That's been a running joke for forever. Before me and Lee became fathers have been joking about that. So we have to be able to have a level setting conversation when it comes to black men. And why women are fixing what they're fixing, I'll tell you, that's not anecdotal to black fathers. That is the system that was created by white supremacy that took men out of the home where women had to adapt. On the plantation where women had to adapt to do things. And there's just some women who are just great with their hands and great with coordination, and they just like to fix shit too, whether the man can or can't. But nobody's knocking those women. This was just a tip of the hat for Father's Day. And I don't know why we have to share our moments, even on Father's Day, with women. I don't see how that's a knock to women.
Some of those children that they fathered
Not,
are
not sister.
women.
Not sister. Hold on. Hold on.
And the
No,
relationship
no,
they
no,
have
no,
with
no,
that
no,
women
no, no. See,
ricochets
you're
through
not
their relationships with
you're
other
not
people.
you're not seeing what you're doing though, because you keep jumping over the moon. Nobody's taken away from the women that they fathered, not even the women that they fathered the children with. This was just the old two fathers for Father's Day. I haven't been on, and we just talked about what I did for Father's Day. He talked about what he said his son about going to work for Father's Day. This was never a knock at black women, black mothers, or whatever, our daughters or anything. This is just about fathers giving props. Now, I appreciate you and I love you, but I would love for you to just say something positive about black
Yeah,
men without the back.
I did. You didn't hear it.
No,
Your
no,
bias
no,
don't
no,
hear
no, no,
me
no,
when
no,
I
no.
say it.
You said it, but you brought up the
I
brother.
said y'all presented a spectrum. That
Yes,
there's a spectrum and y'all
yes,
presented a portion, but
but
to
hold on a
do
second.
real honor to
Hold on,
y'all,
Thomas. Hold on, Thomas. Rashi. I think Thomas's point is why was there even a but? There was not a but necessary.
in
As he
order to,
said, go ahead.
it's not a but, it's an and. It's not a
But there,
rebuttal.
but 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 there was nothing. His point though is there was nothing there to rebut. It's like when we give Mother's Day props. We don't say, "Oh my God, mothers are great," and we don't say mothers are great, but I didn't talk about my crazy baby mama on Mother's Day. Didn't say nothing. Didn't say nothing about her. Nothing at all. Just said Happy Mother's Day and let it be. That's
There is
I
a
think that's
spectrum of motherhood, just like there's a spectrum of fatherhood. That's the and. I wanted I wanted you all to be able to talk about fatherhood in its full spectrum, not just the guy who went to work for Father's Day or gets tools. There's a whole spectrum of fatherhood, and truly honoring the idea is being open to the fact that there's a spectrum and
But
that you can
only,
discuss it.
but it's only at the sacrifice of talking about something positive about black men consistently. We talk about black relationships. We're gonna always talk about the brother that cheats, the brother that brings STDs, the brother that ain't got a job, the brother who left. Like at some point, collectively on this white man's internet, we can say positive things about black people without bringing up the negative. There's plenty of it out there, and it just seemed like because we didn't even go through the I wasn't even trying to go through the spectrum of fatherhood. I was just talking about what I told during the speech. And I just said these are the things that we should ask fathers. And I said even those fathers who are absent. I did say that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I said even the brothers who are absent, we should ask those questions. And so I wasn't leaving out the fact that there were even absent fathers, but I wasn't going through the spectrum because to me, it was like, hey, this is my suggestion. I wanted to share that with the people. All I'm saying, sister, is it's like, here's the thing. I'm gonna give you a good example. When our children graduated from high school, you were happy, I was happy. Now, one time did we bring up the dropouts? We didn't say, now those kids who dropped out 2 years ago, get your ass up, get back in school, get a GED, do XYZ, stop being lazy. Those kids who didn't graduate with honors, now if you just put a couple of hours in, you would have got a scholarship. We didn't do none of the critique on them. We were just happy for our babies. We can do the exact same thing when it comes to black men and black women. Black women can have their moment, and as brothers, we need to stand, cheer, celebrate, protect, honor, and cherish. And same thing for black men. I just feel like there is a glitch in this matrix that we're living in right now. When you say something positive about black men, we must then go into the entire spectrum to remember it's some swamp niggas out there. Y'all got to remember the niggas in the swamp because they the worst of the worst. And we don't always have to do that because we want them cats to come out of the swamp and we want to elevate them too. And we want them to be better. And we still got to have hope and pride for the worst of us so that we all can get somewhere collectively if we can. All we can do is be an example for them.
I agree still and still. You haven't said anything that I didn't agree with. It was the addition of the full spectrum that started the whole problem. I don't know.
understood.
But I will say this fatherhood should be discussed before somebody even gets to have sex. This should be a conversation. This should be a adolescent conversation. How the questions you're asking, this is not how you want your family is not. Once you have it, you haven't created the plan that would create. You haven't done the development in yourself that would make that an easy road. But if you talk to a 13, hopefully they haven't started a family. I'm just going to say hopefully. If you talk to 13, 14, 15, hopefully 16, maybe even 17. 17's a little late. By 17, some of these gentlemen have already started at least having sex with the possibility of starting a family. If you start to these young people and say, at least, hey, like you said, how was your pops? Well, what kind of pops would you like? Do you want to be a pop? And if you do, what you want to do, you want your kids to be like you. If you start that conversation in their teens, then you can have something to discuss when you ask them once the family is started. But once you start your family and you're in the slings of arrows of love and lust, and you didn't put it in there because gentlemen, once you put it in, it's a whole new world. Uh, uh you cannot the hormonally you cannot think in a way. What do I want from my family? You think, what can I do to keep this? Is her drug feeling? What can I do to keep this feeling right now? Okay, so
Right.
I honor this question panel that you have. I have one as well, but I fear that you may be too late by asking, what do you want for your family
But here's the
when
beautiful
with the family is there?
here's the beautiful thing of it all is that you're a mother and you're not a father. And so to pathologize black men or fathers in that sense is not just. And that's part of the problem. The quote, Dr. Rachel. That's all we do. We pathologize everything. And it cuts at the existence of being. Because as a father at 21, I was a shitty father. And I had to grow into being a better father. And it took better fathers around me to make me a better father. And even if the conversation was had to me at 13, experience and compared to conversation is different. And you could become a better mother. You could become a better grandmother. You could become a better person just based off of experience in life. And we sometimes take that away because somebody put it in a book. And everybody's theories, and this is part of the problem that we live with now. We have a lot of theoretical shit that we swallow whole and we regurgitate it, we recite it, we memorize it all the way down to Bell Hooks, who died lesbian, who was married or who was in a relationship with a white man that she knew
Right.
hated black people. No, it was before her, before the white woman. She was with a white man that she knew was a redneck who hated black men, but he loved her, and that's all that matters. But we regurgitate what she says, or how Stella got her groove back, and never mind the fact that the man she got her groove back came back with, he wasn't even into women, and he just used her to get over here. That's a part of the conversation we don't have because we still have to talk about the problems with black men consistently without talking about the full scope. We are a product of our environment, and our environment is an unhealthy one in this country. But when we can uplift each other, I just say we must uplift each other no matter what our sex is, no matter what our sexual orientation is. Black people got to start speaking life into each other and stop being so critical of one another. We can't never come together if all we got is critique.
I say it again. We just got to start speaking to one another. Let's move on, though. Um, it's been 10 years since the massacre in Charleston, South Carolina. Dylan Roof walked into a church and murdered parishioners as they invited him in to be a part of their church family. I don't know what we've learned since then. Maybe Sinners was a nod to that situation as well. Like, gotta be careful who you invite in because they can take you out. Um, it was a huge travesty. I'm sorry, it was a huge travesty. It still remains a huge travesty. Anytime folks are taken from us in such a violent manner just for being is a problem. We're seeing that not in a literal sense. Folks aren't necessarily losing their lives, but they're losing their livelihood as they're being snatched from the streets now and deported out of the country because of their legal status, be it official or non-official. People just being snatched up on the streets right now. This is a problem. This is something that we all need to be fighting against because what happens when it's you? And you may be a legalized citizen, but we've seen legal citizens being snatched up and deported to countries that they know absolutely nothing about. First and foremost, they ain't even from that country. And secondly, they've been here their entire lives. Again, legally.
Yeah.
So I definitely wanted to speak to that on this day. It was June 17th, so that was Tuesday. That
Mhm.
was the 10-year anniversary of that remembrance, I should say, not necessarily
Mhm.
anniversary. It was not, it's nothing happy about that day
Mhm.
whatsoever.
Mhm. I think it's a reminder, though, really.
Sir?
I think it's a reminder. Online
Yes.
lately, I've been hearing people saying black people need to stay out of it. Black people need to stay out of it. Remember, Dylan Roof came to the church.
Yep.
The church didn't go to Dylan Roof.
Nope.
And how white aggression shows up in this country is it shows up at your doorstep. You don't get to avoid it. And, we can go to Dylan Roof. We can go to the bombing of the church during the civil rights era. We can talk about the burning of Tulsa, Wilmington, et cetera, et cetera. They have never needed us to engage with them to show white violence. And staying out of it doesn't mean you're going to avoid the violence because it's like a rage and the rage grows. And as you've seen, I was watching television the other day and I saw that ICE showed up to the Dodger Stadium and the Dodgers said, and what I worry about, Lee, when the Dodgers said no, the response, and I know most Americans didn't hear the federal response. The federal response was, we didn't send ICE agents to the Dodger Stadium. That wasn't us. Now, hold on. I know you got that smirk, but what I was thinking, Lee, with the mask on, what we just had here in Minnesota, somebody dressing up was able to
We'll
have.
get to that. We'll get to that when you close out your comments.
But I'm saying with this situation right here, how many people are dressing up as ICE agents to detain people, put them out into human trafficking, sex trafficking, whatever, because you can put your mask on. You don't have to hide, you don't have to show who you are. No one's really asking for clarification. How many people know what an ICE agent's badge is supposed to look like? What is the paperwork supposed to look like, etc.? And so when I think about Dylan Roof and I think about him showing up to that church boldly, this is one person with a gun who showed up to gun down a bunch of people boldly. When you start putting that in a collective space where we're at right now in the United States, and we got people walking around with masks on, badges, SUVs that are unmarked, we sometimes forget about the white militia. We sometimes forget about the white Klansmen. And so when you have this going on and it's with their mask on and there is no checks and balances around this whole piece, these are dangerous times. And that 10-year anniversary, that needs to be talked about. Dylan Roof needs to be studied. And we must be more bold in our assessment of what's happening here. Because believing you just going to sit on the sideline and be safe, I think that's a wrong way of thinking for our collective.
I totally agree with that because if it can happen in the church in South Carolina, Charleston, what about cities with massive collections of black people? New Orleans, any place in Mississippi, Kansas City, East St. Louis,
Well, I
St.
can tell
Louis.
you, the black church here in Kansas City has been fairly smart. Um, Instead of 1,000 little bitty churches, there is now about 5 or 6, depending on denomination, of course. Not mega, but let's say more than 500 members. Let's say that, okay? And so, with that amount of tithing you're able to afford security. And
Mm.
so what has begun to happen here in Kansas City is there are one to however many is appropriate based on the space, security officers that do everything from traffic to monitoring the Dillon roofs, right? In a nice way, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there are off-duty cops, security, blah blah blah, that are available for hire here in Kansas City on Sunday. It is, as Malcolm X says, the most separatist time in our city. We do not worship together, and I'm gonna say that as a person who's just watching. I'm out driving around. I'm looking at the cars in the parking lot. But no, the black church has always been particularly, since it is one of our money hubs, it's one of our power centers, it's one of our places of congregation, so it's going to be under attack. Smart people who congregate in mosques and not temples. Mr. Rodney? What do you call where Jewish people get together?
Synagogues. Synagogue.
Synagogues. That's right. That's right. Synagogues, mosques, and stuff like that. It's just going to be, unfortunately, one of those places that people decide to strike, because that's where everybody at a certain time. Under one disagreeable ideology. And so on days like this, Mr. Rodney, you said it, everybody need not necessarily bring their AK-47 to church with them, but at least have there be someone on the premises with who is tasked either with a heart or with a check with keeping everybody on the lot safe, so and that just may have that's how it's going to be for and this is one of those new normals. I don't know if that's just how it's going to be now. When we get together to protest, when we get together to go to a concert, please don't forget the horrific shootings in Las Vegas, right? When the 50 people who were shot or injured in Las Vegas at the concert, right? Or all of us live in a city where there was some kind of terror. Kansas City is a little smaller. Uh, I can't tell you we've had an event like what you guys had in Minnesota, uh, Barry. Like we don't have any slain politicians and stuff like that. But we looking and we're prepared. We listen to what bigger cities are, what's resonating there, and we try to respond even to the homeless runoff. Because once you have terror like we watching, like we supposed to be, what they say we watching, they saying it's not real, but once we see this type of terror, people scatter. And so small towns like Kansas City, small to medium towns like Kansas City, we have to get ready for people who run from from terror, like Charleston, like the gunshots of Las Vegas, like the bombing of Atlanta. Do you remember when Atlanta was bombed during the Olympics, right? So there are you just have to prepare yourself by knowing, am I going to this concert or not? I love Beyonce, but would I go to a concert of hers right now, knowing that she's trying to cross over into certain territory, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
being smart about where you are. Do you want to go to red, white, and blue July 4th celebrations right now? That would be a toss up for me, right? I don't know how many Independence Day celebrations I would feel comfortable with out in the world right now, right? Not because I'm scared of people who love America, but the people who want to see America burn. Right, Barry? You told us before there is a legion of people who are waiting to watch this country go up in flames. And they're willing to light the match, they're willing to be participating. And so we just have to be mindful. Because Charleston is going to happen again, Lee. Did you know that? Stuff like that's going to happen again. It has another church that been shot up since then, another worship center been shot up since then. So what did we learn? We learned one
Right.
thing. If depending on who you are and depending on who you kill, you can get a Burger King you can get a Burger King pack after you get through shooting up certain people. Right?
Because
Didn't
you're
they take
hungry.
them to Burger King?
Yeah, because you're hungry. Rodney's in the building. I thought he was upset with me because I sent him a picture of that yellow watermelon I bought yesterday, and I ain't bring him none. So I thought he was upset with me. I didn't think he was gonna make it this morning. What's going on, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing good, but actually I got up early to make the show on time, but I got a phone call right as I was getting ready to log on the show, and then I had issues logging on to the show, but the general to the rescue, as always.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Don't want to go too far, brother Barry. Want to come back to you because I told you I was going to come to you early in the show. So let's follow up on what the shooting that happened in Minnesota. So I know that Vance is. Do you pronounce the brother's name Bolter?
Van Bolter. I wouldn't call him a brother. He seemed like a other.
The guy, the gentleman, the guy.
His name seems South African, and I want people to really look, man. I've heard even the mayor, my boy Hollis, state conspiracy theories. And let me tell y'all something. Anytime I hear elected officials talk about conspiracy theories, that means that there's holes that's purposely put out there in stories that people don't want to talk about. They put out what I've heard. This man had financial issues. And then yesterday was another story that they found 50 guns and $18,000 in cash inside of one of his 3 homes. He had a home in North Minneapolis, right around where a lot of black people are. But then he had another home in Minneapolis on Life-R.E.A.L. And you guys didn't get to go to Life-R.E.A.L, but I'm going to take you around Life-R.E.A.L when you come back in September. And when I show you those homes, I guarantee you that nobody over there has a cash problem. You won't see a cash problem home. You won't see grass not cut. You won't see windows not washed. And you won't see homes that don't look like they don't have a maid or a butler or a nanny inside. Then he had a home in southern Minnesota.
Dang.
That's where they caught him at. That's a person that was supposed to have a cash problem. That's a person who also had an international business where I could send you brothers the video of him preaching to some black folks in Africa.
I saw that. Yep.
Okay. And remember,
he was talking about the LGBTQ plus community.
Okay. And he also had his security firm, an international security firm. This wasn't his first time at this rodeo. He got caught. I don't know why he got caught. I can't explain all of that. But this is nothing new for him. And I want people to know that even after the death, unfortunately, of Melissa Hortman, that someone just recently broken into her home. Afterwards, we've had people publicizing this. We've even had a state Republican rep who made some lies about who this guy was. So this has been, it's been a lot here lately. And what's up to my brother Jamar? Happy birthday to you, brother. I want to say that while I'm in the middle of this because he lives here locally. And he also knows about the politics here too. It's been a lot going on. But what I warn, I'm always here with these warnings. So let me give y'all a warning. Anytime you have a situation like this take place in the country where you see a white male who focuses as the terroristic portion of it, in the next coming months, they are going to highlight anything criminal that they can attach to African-American men to rinse this man out of the news cycle. You're going to see violence inside of the inner cities be highlighted, and that's going to be the face of the conversation by the middle of July. They're going to push Voltaire to the back, and we're going to be talking about black on black crime. And we're going to eat it up. And then they're going to take to the streets. And when they take to the streets, what we're going to find out is that black men will certainly be in a position where they'll be back targeted by this administration and everything else. But this will be the face of it. And you will not see a response to white male violence the way that you should. And that's going to be the result of them trying to make sure that we don't focus on who Voltaire is. Because Voltaire is not from the United States. If you just look at his name, how many Voltaires do you know? Look at how he looks. He is not from here. And I want you to keep that in mind because, Lee, they had a story right after where he had a roommate. And his roommate is like, yeah, I've been knowing him since 4th grade. And he wasn't like this, and this. Well, that guy's from Minnesota.
Chubby white guy?
chubby white guy, overlay for the underplay. See, this all stuff, the story didn't make sense, but he's the roommate, but he got a house on Lake of the Isle with a wife and kids. What man, listen, it ain't far from South Minneapolis to North Minneapolis. There's no reason why a man who has a house on Lake of the Isles need a roommate in North Minneapolis. What is that about? Not to mention most of the Juneteenth events that were taking place last weekend was where? North Minneapolis. Where was the police swarming after that? North Minneapolis. Do you see the shift? You see how things are shifting? Was no large police presence at Lake of the Isle. They won't even let you talk about him like he's a part of this rich aristocratic environment or community. The power in Minneapolis, the city of Minneapolis all comes from that southwest area where the Lake of the Isles is. All of the political power throughout the state and out the metro and pretty much the state is right there. And Marlon is right. Grown men don't have roommates.
Grown married men don't have roommates.
And then he texted his wife and this guy. I just want folks to understand when people say, let's don't start conspiracy theories. This is a conspiracy all into itself. This is planned out. And we have to be able to be patient, but we also have to know BS when we see BS, and we cannot not turn down what this is. So I just want everybody to be safe out there, be mindful that the violence against Black men will step up probably around mid-July so that they can rinse this out. They're going to have to put out more RICOs. They're going to have to arrest more people. They're going to need more stories like Diddy, Tyler Perry, and everything else. So that can be the face of it. But this is a situation that there's a lot of deep tentacles to this story, y'all, that they're not telling us. It's almost like a slow drip, Rodney. Like the story is like it's coming out and you're like, wait a minute, I thought they were done with that part. Wait a minute, 18,000 in cash and 50 guns.
So Marlon asked the question, has Trump ever called Governor Walz?
No.
I don't think so.
He said he won't. He said it's a waste of time. He said he's a crackpot, but they also said that he's been dissing Tim Walz behind the scenes because of it. And I've been having these conversations with friends, and I've been like, he's going to use this against Tim Walz. This is going to be the Republicans are going to use this politically against Tim Walz to say, well, how can he protect you as the president? He couldn't even protect his state.
There you go. Yep.
Look at the response to this, right?
Newsom in the same way. They're trying to do Newsom the same way. That's why he sent in the National Guard and the Marines in the LA. They're trying to prevent him from getting out the gate early. And that's what this crap is all about.
But
you're going to see 3 seconds of political ads of the violence swarming the streets of Los Angeles under Governor Newsom's watch. Is this a man that you want protecting you and your family and the entire United States of America? All this bullcrap. And that's all it's going to be 3 seconds. It's going to be 3 seconds. You're dang sure almost going to see the same daggone 3 seconds over and over and over again. It's going to be the same daggone loop. Why? Because it was nothing. It's a nothing freaking burger. It was nothing there. But because people are changing the way that they're tuning into news, those 3 seconds are all that's going to get stuck in their mind. Why? Because they can flip out their phone, and that 3 seconds is not going to burn a lot of battery life on their freaking phone. So they can watch it over and over and over again. They can share it to their little minions out there in the world, and this is what's going to capture people's mind, without a doubt. So you were talking about the security company, and let's be clear. His security company had resources that were very police-like, cars with light bars and other things. Those other things, remember, they said he was dressed like a police officer. 9 times out of 10, those other things were the uniform. Some type of style, some type of vest. 9 times out of 10 said police on it. Yada, yada, yada. He probably had the freaking medallion type badge around his chest. And remember, he showed up to these people's houses
Yeah.
But early in the daggone morning. Who's in your right mind answering the door but early in the daggone morning, especially when you see a car out front with a light bar on it, may or may not have been flashing, and you see somebody in a uniform with a goddamn vest on. You're gonna think 9 times out of 10, especially if but early in the daggone morning, that whomever that person is an official police officer coming along.
So wait,
Brother Marlon,
wait.
I'm gonna let you get in. I'm gonna let you get in. Let me land, and then I'll let you get in. Brother Marlon said something else. He said he thinks that the Proud Boys are posing as ICE agents. That is a huge problem. Uh, Rodney has said something about this for a while. That is a huge problem because we do not know who these folks are. They refuse to show their faces. To your point earlier, Brother Barry, who knows what an ICE badge is supposed to look like? You don't know. All you see is a freaking badge around somebody's neck. You're going to roll with it because for the most part, most Americans are law-abiding citizens. We're not going to push that hard up against someone that we view as a upstanding enforcer of the laws of our nation. That's not how most of us are built. I landed now. Go ahead, Brother Barry. You can take it from there. I'm sorry.
So what a lot of people don't know with this situation is, and Jamar just talked about it. This guy pulled up on the side of an armed police officer. I want to believe inside of Golden Valley or New Hope, and he was asked questions, didn't answer the question, and just pulled off. That was an attempt of another state rep. Okay. The second thing is, before he killed State Rep Hortman and her husband and their dog, he was exchanging gunfire with the Brooklyn Park police before he went into the house and killed them. See, that's a very important part of the piece that people aren't getting. I saw the look on Rodney's face, but that's an important piece to understand. They were there. If they are able to shoot him in the front yard, it's a done wrap. The other side of it, because you guys have not made it to this side, from Brooklyn Park to North Minneapolis on feet in the middle of the night, even for a white man, that is a lot, y'all. That is a lot. That's a nice distance. And I know people say, well, hey, they were on they lived off a golf course. Very true. But you have to understand how big Brooklyn Park is. You have to understand a lot of these things where it just, and this ain't about conspiracy, but clearly this man had help. And and I've
But
seen,
if it don't add up, it don't add up. It ain't got to be a conspiracy, bro. If it don't add up, it don't add up.
Well, what I meant by the help piece was when the story first came out, they said they had one person in custody and they were searching for him. The conversation has changed. They're not talking about the person they had in custody. They're not saying that person looked like we questioned the person and we released the person. We thought the person was with them. They're not saying none of that. They're just going, oh, it was just one person. Well, no, the problem is that we've got the news stories. Everybody's asking that question. Who was the second person? Where is that person at? How did he get from Brooklyn Park to North Minneapolis, since you guys saying he did this in the middle of the night? Man, I can show you. There is, man, they say they made like he had to speed at Bill Walton. Facts. I mean, there's a lot there to this story. And I just hope that the clarity comes out, because to me, this was a great example of white violence. This is a great example of political violence. And even more importantly, it should be an understanding of the cover-up. And one last piece, because I always say these crimes have to happen in multiples. I'm scared about the police vehicles and what he was able to do, because we've had a lot of people missing. And you know who could have people missing the most that'll get people guards down? If you dress like a police officer, you have a police type vehicle, I'll get in your car if you pull me over. And I may not be able to see another day. We've had so many people in that area go missing. So many people. In the last month, we've had over 45 people gone missing inside of the Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, Maple Grove area. No one's talking about that, y'all. And to me, seeing that whole piece, because people say, oh, crimes is just this. No, Typically, when they go bust people who are on drug rings, Rodney, don't they typically find child pornography, sex rings, and things of that nature? This man was dressed like he had a vehicle that looked like a police vehicle, y'all. We got to start asking more questions. And I say this: what I saw with ICE, I hope that the Tim Walz does what Gavin Newsom does. There needs to be a ban on masks from law enforcement agents inside of the state of Minnesota. That needs to be a law that's signed ASAP. The second law that should be, just like they targeted brothers with tinted windows, they need to target anybody who has vehicles that are similar to police officers. We don't need police-like vehicles with the lights, with the plates. We don't need that on the roads, because we should use that as an example. And that's all they need for us. They only need it to happen one time when we do it. Oh, Negro did something crazy. He had 10 windows.
Would it be shut down?
With 16 guns in it. Oh, that means 10 windows is bad for everybody. So what we need, yeah, you're right. No more the Pooh Shiesty mask. I hate those masks anyway, young men. It's too hot to have a mask on in the summertime. But we don't need masks on in public places. And we need to do away with these police cars, or these people who got these cars that mock police cars, because the thing is, we don't know what type of crimes are being done. And I feel like there's more to this story, y'all. It's like a lot more to this story that no one wants to talk about.
Rashi, Rodney, you got anything to add? Or we can move on.
Did you guys hear about Cash Patel sending in the troops to Memphis because of the level of crime? This is going back to Brother Barry's comment about seeing crime used as and black crime used as a scapegoat. I read this morning that the guy who murdered the state representatives in Minnesota, not only did he have the police car, but they said they found. Did you guys talk about the letter that they found on him?
No, we didn't talk about
that. I'm sorry.
No, we didn't talk about that with the list. Yeah, the list and all. We didn't talk about that.
No, not just the list, but he had a letter supposedly written by Tim Walz, where the governor had solicited him to assassinate Amy Klobuchar. And the reason for that was because he wanted her position. So you were talking about conspiracy. Now, there's one thing in conspiracy and there's another thing in conspiracy theory as we use it. That you mentioned that he's South African. I didn't know it, but the name does remind me of South African. And you mentioned
he said he sounded like, because of the name, he sounded like he was South African. Let's be clear, I don't want to get that mixed up.
Yeah.
Right. So when I saw the association with this letter that the FBI says they found in his vehicle, but the letter was disjointed, and it says it comes from Tim Walz. I don't say it's a conspiracy theory. I say that there is a conspiracy, and it is worth looking into. I never understood how he could get away so long, and I didn't hear about the shootout part, because I was wondering.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that either.
So I talked to some black police officers here on Juneteenth, and I was asking, are these people in mass kidnapping people? Is that legal or not? And they said no. And I says, if that was to happen in front of one of our churches here, what is the citizens' recourse? And he says, well, A, don't go with them. And he says, and B, dial 911. And so, of course, I said, well, that didn't work out too good in a couple of other states because the police wound up coming out and helping ICE. And he says, well, that's not the way it is here. And Brother Barry talked about Gavin Newsom coming up with the no mask. I believe he said no mask rule.
Mm-hmm.
If Did you guys see the video of the Chinese guy getting kidnapped, supposedly by ICE? Did you hear about the woman who got zip tied, supposedly by somebody in ICE, and then he robbed the place? Or the woman that got supposedly picked up by ICE, but she got raped? Our mayors and our governors have a role to play, as well as our attorney generals, that they're simply not playing. And there is separation of powers, and these kidnappings that are happening, I mean, are we going to just keep going along with what we're seeing? Martial law doesn't have to be declared for actions of martial law to be executed. And now that the courts have said that he can maintain
the troops, in LA,
that he can. Well, it's not just in LA though. It didn't say LA.
It's all over. It's nationwide. It's nationwide.
And he said that he's going to deploy them nationwide. That is a thing of martial law. So it's almost as if we're sleepwalking while he is speed walking us into something that no one says that they want, but because he has not declared it, it's almost as if we are not believing what our lying eyes are showing us. And I think that the people have a role to push our elected officials and our law enforcement in our states, counties, and cities to protect us, because their role, their job, government's job, is to do what the people cannot do, and protecting the people is one of their main roles. But the people have to be more active in pushing for this, because I don't think, Lee, if somebody roll up on you, they have a mask on, or let me put it, if someone rolls up on a family member, so I'll keep it nebulous, someone rolls up on a family member and someone is watching that family member get kidnapped by people cosplay, because until they show ID that matches their face, and that's what local law enforcement told me, if they don't have ID that matches their face, then who are they? Nobody knows. Why would you go with them? Well, I also saw that now that they're carrying more long guns, and you're seeing these people who look like they might be contractors pointing their guns at citizens. Well, if you're carrying guns and you have multiple magazines on your person, and now you're pointing those long guns at the citizens, the next step is to pull the trigger. So do we have to have the triggers pulled on us before we start looking at ways to defending ourselves and our families, and to push our electeds to do their job? We need to do that quick, fast, and in a hurry, because if once those troops are deployed to Memphis, that he says he's deploying them to all the blue states, that would be Minnesota. Well, once the troops are deployed and they're loyal to him, then what recourse will we have? If we want to have hopes of stopping this, that fierce urgency of now that Dr. King talked about is right now, and we need to get on with it.
Hey, I agree. And you know, Rodney, what I worry, and I was talking to Lee about this earlier, it's the aftermath of Trump. Because this country is going to have a hard time getting itself put back together because of what some citizens have done to other citizens. People who are calling, saying, hey, these are what Latinos or immigrants are. People who are turning in other people who may not be immigrants. This stuff is going to come out after him. And it's going to be hard to trust neighbors. It's going to be hard to trust each other. It's going to cause more contention than ever before in Americans in general. And this is going to be the aftermath of this guy. I sat and watched Pete Hegseth get called up on the Capitol, and I saw how they were grilling him and his responses. And I said, man, this dude is just a zealot. He had no business in that position. L.A., what did what did she say? She said, we're here to liberate. That's what you say when you're coming to for war. Those words were not accidental. And if they're going to liberate blue states, and I want to go back before Trump, because this is my problem with the Democrats. When they were sending illegal immigrants to New York and other sanctuary cities, the federal government should have pulled dollars from those states. And the federal government should have came harder on those governors. When they started changing curriculum in Florida and other places,
That's a good play.
the federal government should have came in and put their foot in their ass.
That's a good play.
The Democrats, all of this stuff that you watch, I'm going to go right back to Obama. He could have appointed a Supreme Court justice in recess. Trump would have done it. And if he would have done it, the Supreme Court would have be more balanced. Moving forward, passiveness is not the answer, because we know the other side does not play fair. I know people say, well, hey, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. You don't have to be either. But it's clear to see that one really does piss in the water. It's clear. Like the person's pissing in the water, we all can see it.
Directly.
Directly.
The other one does too.
I mean, the other one does too, but this one right here is so bold. This one right here is so bold. And the main thing was supposed to keep the country together is this constitutional rule. Now, Marlon, they don't have to play dirty. They just have to play. Part of the problem is that they're not playing. This also goes back to the Patriot Act. Turning in your neighbors. Never walking that back. Never walking back, no child left behind. Whoever gets in power after this man must go back 2 decades, 3 decades, and rewrite all of this. From the tax construction to where these wealthy corporations are not paying their fair share, to making sure that we have enough mental health hospitals to take care of the mentally ill, to dealing with making sure that we have fair and just education for the next generation, because, Lord, we know that they're destroying the Department of Education under this man. They're ridding the CDC, so even our health in this country is in danger because of these people. You can't just simply get in power. There's no just simply voting in the Democrats. And what he's shown with the executive order, if the next person that gets voted in on day one doesn't start writing things to reverse those things within a constitutional manner, then we know they're full of shit too. And we have to we have to demand it. That has to be the conversation. We don't need no blue dog Democrats that come in and say, well, I like some of this racial discrimination. I like some of this bigotry. We can keep some of it. No, it all has to be walked back. And we know you don't need a study, because every day there's something that's written that's showing you the impact of some of these horrific laws that's been passed and been able to sit on the books. This right now is just the chickens coming home to roost. They didn't do it under Biden. That's why the Build Back America bill should have been bigger. He should have did more, but he should have made sure that he went after those red states that's been playing this game, because that's part of the thing. See, when they talk about invading these cities and liberating these cities, remember, most of those illegal immigrants that they talk about got sent to California from where? Okay, Texas. Okay, Trump said he was going to build that border wall. Did he not say he was building the border wall? Okay, so if
they ain't going to build it.
So if they came in under Biden, brother, you had your turn first. Where was your wall, sir? Oh, okay, it didn't work. Okay, so then you send people into California, into New York, into Chicago, into Minnesota. You sent those people there. Your minions did that. Those folks didn't just arrive there. That is the conversation. And when the media talks, part of the problem with it, and I'm gonna go back to Abby. I love Abby Phillips, man. I just love the sister, but I cringe watching her, because I feel like the lies just get to run around the table 10,000 times, and the truth might be told 2 times. At some point, people have to be able to tell the God honest truth. The Republicans put all of this in play, and they are the ones who are obsessed with transgender rights. They were the ones that were holding all the hearings on transgender rights. They were the ones who sat in this fixation of all of this is them. This is all of them. And we have to tell the truth. I live in Minnesota. They keep talking about Governor Walz and this bathroom thing. You guys, I have been through the bathrooms. I have not seen a gender there's no such bathrooms that exist here. If they were, they would have taken pictures of it. Y'all know how things work on the net. They would have had videos in the whole nine. Tampons for boys, all of that. If that was really a big thing here, trust me, the conservatives here would have taken photos of it. We just have to make sure this next go round, the aftermath of Trump, that's what's really important for this country. What is it going to be like after he's gone? Are we just going to walk back 10%? Or do we need to go back and walk things back all the way to Reagan? Because I think we need to go back to Reagan and walk things back. Because if we don't, we're going to be back in more trouble in the next 5 years.
But isn't that the concern, though? Isn't the concern that there will not be an after Trump? He's clearly said that he wants to serve a third term. He's clearly said that you will never have to vote again if you elect him. These are the challenges that we face right now. And again, with the courts sitting on their hands, I'm sorry, not the courts, the Supreme Court sitting on its hands, not checking this fool, we are in the state of limbo that we're in. This is my contention. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I understand what they said. I understand they gave the boy immunity as long as he was working within the confines of the office of the President of the United States. But they never thought, I don't believe they ever thought that it would go this daggone far. And if they did, then they're complicit and complacent in what we got going on right now. And that's okay. That is okay. What's not okay, though, is that there's no clarity in what it to what is happening now and what direction we can go. If there is going to be space for us in the next 3 years, 4 years, whatever, what have you, does that not impact those voters whom would have regularly sat at home? Are they even more not motivated now? Like, what does it really matter? This fool going to do this, that, and ain't nobody going to do nothing. So why are you telling me to vote? See what your vote gets you? Is it not disparaging to them? We need some direction. We need some direction. But I go to Rodney's point. Ain't nobody going to help us but us. And us being the American people. No one's going to save us but us. We are going to have to figure this out. But we do need some direction from the courts to let us know what we can or cannot do. Because ain't nobody trying to go to jail. No one's trying to be in prison for the rest of their lives. If that has to happen, then so be it.
Yeah.
But no one's trying to go that way. We're trying to bring about change the correct way.
Yeah, the legit way. You know what?
In my opinion, is a challenge.
But brother, I was looking at the California district courts, and it was something there where they were like saying how the district courts, they're saying that the district courts have become conservative because of the appointments of Trump. He appointed a lot of conservative judges in that district, and it just just like, hey, elections have consequences for real. And he's done so much that first time in, that first term, that's damaging, and he's building on top of that. That I feel like, man, the courts, it's like the courts right now is bipolar. Like, we can't get a consistent ruling.
True that.
Of the Constitution, and we can't get a consistent ruling of anything. And to be really, I haven't seen like the courts, like things have been swiftly moving through the courts, So yeah, I just, whew, man, this country, listen, man, we got a steep fight in front of us.
we do, Rodney? How do we fight this? How do we do our due diligence? How do we, the people, stand up for the rights of the people? What? Rodney just said Pakistan recommended 45 for the Nobel Peace Prize. How? How the heck is that even possible? He's talking about bringing into the war with Ukraine within the first week or some crap like that. We ain't nowhere close to that at this point. He can't even get Iran and Israel to talk. Well, actually, he's sitting on his hands about that. He doesn't know who the heck to support.
Oh, you got him to talk.
He doesn't know if he wants to support the Israelis and have them annihilate Iran or what.
Oh, man.
This dude is an idiot. He's a freaking idiot.
Yeah.
He's an idiot. The only reason he is where he is because of hate. Period. Period.
Yeah.
So how do we, Rodney, stand up, push back, and fight the good fight in the situation that we're in right now? How do we bring about the change that we all need to see? Because regardless of where you stand, he is a threat to our democracy, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
So how do we push back, Rodney?
Major threat.
So I think we have to do what Brother Barry is saying. We have to see what we're seeing and believe what we're seeing. Historically, a country moving to an authoritarian rule is not overnight. It's a slow walk. And we're going through that slow walk. It's a slow walk, but when you look at the span of history, it's actually at light speed. Has he been in office 6 months yet? I think he just went over, he just reached 6 months in office. And not only has he changed this country into an occupied country with the National Guard and the United States military, the Marine Corps, in our cities and sending more, he's doing it right in front of us. He's inciting conflicts throughout the world, and he's getting countries like Libya to accept deportees because of strong arm tactics. He get Pakistan to support him for being to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. You would ask, this is not a Trump thing, because as I shared on the show before, he's been on the scene for over 20 years in this political environment. That's more than a generation. So there are people in at least 3 generations that have been infected by the COVID-45 Trump virus. And those people, even when he's left office, are still here, who believe all of the defecation that he's been dumping in their mouths, and they have eaten it up, and it is throughout their entire being. That is who they are. So even if you removed him off the chessboard, he has a whole bunch of pawns that are out there at various levels of government, destroying government as we have known it. The mistake that Lincoln made after the Civil War cannot be the mistake that we made, assuming that we are victorious in getting him out of office. Now, keep in mind that getting him out of office could just mean getting J.D. Vance into office.
Correct.
Which means you have someone directly controlled by Peter Thiel and the PayPal bros. That doesn't advance our cause at all. What we have to realize is, remember when they used to talk about the deep state and they would say that was the Democrats? That was deflection, because there is no greater deep state in the history of this country than what we have right now, with Kash Patel in charge of the FBI, with Tulsi Gabbard in charge of national intelligence, and don't even know what a security clearance is, nor can she get one, along with Pete Hegseth saying that, and Nome. Do you know that Nome has put out a memo that says that Congress people have to notify them 72 hours before they can do their duty to verify the conditions of detainees? Now, she has no authority to do that, but if nobody checks her, if we don't push back, and we do have the means of pushing back. Thomas is in a democratically led state with the governor, and I think somewhat of a split legislature with leaning Democrat. What are the strong methods that Governor Walz is putting in place to counter this? These people are at war with us. They're coming after black people, and they're using other people to get to us. But ultimately, these people are about destroying the country as a democratic republic with a constitution to turn it into an authoritarian state. And we, to Brother Barry's point earlier, are still not acting like these people are at war. And I'll say this is not going back to Reagan, because the Posse Comitatus Act, the Insurrection Act, these are things long before Reagan. There needs to be someone who runs for these offices, non-Republican, that are talking about looking at and reviewing all of these laws, especially those that came about during slavery, those who came about after slavery to re-enslave us. All of those things need to be under review, because he's going back and finding whatever he can to push his agenda. Now, I always say we need to have an agenda. We need to have our project, whatever we call it, restoring democracy, if whatever we call it, saving black people, because he's coming after us. And we have to get on that wartime footing, because of war, they are warring against us. And there's a role for the people to play. And it's not cowering in fear. Because if you're cowering in fear, I mean, how many Anne Frank stories are our progeny going to be reading about if we continue standing on the sidelines and watching this happen to us? There's too many examples of this in not the last 70 years, but the last 40, the last 30 years of authoritarians taking over. We are watching it happen to us, and we're just sleepwalking as it's happening. Three Stooges slap, wake the HE double toothpicks up, and black people stop saying it's not our turn to fight, it's somebody else's turn to fight. This is our lives. And if we're not willing to stand up and fight for our lives now, why on earth would we trust white people, no matter how good they seem to be, to ever be the ones that are going to determine our future, when even, remember, Letter from Birmingham Jail was about those so-called white people that were on our side. This is our fight, and we need to get in the fight. It doesn't mean we always need to be out there protesting out front. No, we have to be smart. We have to be strategic, and then we have to be tactical. But this is a fight about us, and we need to get in the fight 10 toes deep, as my daughter said.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna stick with you. I'm sorry, Rashi. You got anything to add to that before we transition to Iran and Israel?
No, I just want to honor the work that has been done. People are getting better educated. Organizations are getting better membership. The NAACP, this, that. They're all getting people to join up. Even the Hellenic organizations are getting more young people to join up to the Alpha Phi Omega Psi, blah blah blah. So the work is a lot of people speaking out, like Lamont Hill, and there's a plethora. Joy Reid. There's a lot of people who are speaking. There's a lot of work being done, but yeah, that the way that it used to be done, Mr. Rodney, I don't know if we're going to get a lot of people to put their boots on the ground quite yet. But just know that there's a lot of subliminal work being done, and one of the biggest places we are putting up the good fight is in corporate America. Corporally, being making sure we at these, we're handling our business on these different employment fronts and getting our people in and making people know that there's a ceiling at this organization or that organization. Women been working at Walmart for 35 years. She should be the regional manager, and she still can't quite break that. So there's been whistleblowing. There's been so. It is a double-headed hydra. It is a multi-headed hydra of pain and suffering that we have to work against. I just need you to know that the work is being done. Even y'all being honorable military people who didn't get discharged on funny stuff, or what I'm saying, or that you were able to get in and know some stuff about this country militarily that
Right.
you could employ later on in case it was a us against them situation. Y'all pretty much are like spooks that sat by the door,
I
right?
sat by the door.
All right. So there is work being done, major work, but I do not know if we're going to get definitely anybody under my daughter's age who, and she's about to hit 30. I don't know if we can motivate 30 and under to put on they programs and hit the Pettis Hill like they did back in the day. I don't know. I think they feel like it's better to just go online and type, "Ew, you guys are gross. You're dumb. This is silly." It's just an easier fix for them to be technologically adverse than it is to be physically adverse. A lot of what Mr. Rodney, I feel you're calling for is to be in certain places at certain times. And it's hard to look. Uh, Lee, tell them how hard it is to get them young folks to show up at a certain place at a certain
Yeah,
time. With a get,
absolutely.
and the mission on his end is to pay them. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so this is non-paid work. Liberation work is often non-paid. Thomas got in a good spot with being, able to. You guys have been able to monetize your liberation struggle somehow. I'm guessing with your appointment to the NAACP, and I mean I'm just assuming because I know I haven't been, But if you
It's volunteer work.
most work, yeah, most liberation work is it's voluntary, and you're asking young people to say, "Don't do this. Don't do anything where you thought you might was gonna get no money. Just believe and know you're not gonna get any money from this. What you're gonna get is the overall liberation of your people or your ability to put in to make it right, and it has to be real clean. Like when you get through doing this, more black people will have jobs, or when
Okay.
you get through doing that, and they're not ready for the ethereal let's get this struggle, let's make it better out there. It just has to be more clear cut. And I worry that we haven't been real clean, like go vote for this judge because his records of putting black people in prison are the lowest, right?
Gotcha.
Go to this grocery store. They hire black people. I don't know if we're that concerted with our liberative behavior.
So, question before we go there to Thomas and including everybody else. Thomas, were you surprised by the non-invite to the convention this year, the NAACP convention this year in Charlotte, the first time in the organization's history where they did not at least invite the seated president?
I was pleasantly surprised, but I'm happy that the NAACP did it. I think that was important but let's be honest. He's refused every time he was invited anyway.
Correct.
So I don't want to make it seem like we had a shot at getting him there because it wasn't like he was trying to come. So it wasn't a hard lift. But I'm glad that they took the action to not invite him. And I'm glad that they voiced this concern about him being anti-civil rights anti-constitutional, etc. And I feel like that's the biggest part that the conversation has been swifted from Black folks in this country. Black people like law and order. I always say this about us, like we like the law. We want people to follow the law. Now, do we want laws change? Of course. But the idea that we're lawlessness is like our favorite thing is crazy. When you see protests from us, it's typically because our rights have been violated, not because we want to be lawless. And I'm happy that the NAACP stepped up. Now, with that being said, who else is going to step up? Because the thing is this, young people can arrive at a point. The problem is what's our expectations? I always say this in the classroom, like, what's your expectations? If the expectations are low, then the students are going to reach the low expectations. But the expectations were high, then we'll raise the expectation and people will typically jump to reach the expectation. And if they don't touch it, they'll get close by getting their legs or their minds practicing on trying to reach the expectation. And I feel like we live in a time right now where, and I haven't even talked to you guys about this because I had the reconciliation dinner. And it was a big old brouhaha about young folks at the table. And they were like, hey, it's our time. And I'm like, it ain't your time. You're 25, you're 26, you're 27. You still got to learn. Well, ain't nobody passing us. You ain't supposed to get it passed. You're supposed to seize the moment. Nobody give you nothing. The problem is that we have the, like I said about how we got these theories. The theory is somehow, some way, it's supposed to be a rites of passage to where you get handed, I guess, the sword like He-Man, so you can yell, "You have the power" in front of Castle.
I have the power.
I'm constantly seeing that, and I'm like, that's not how this works. You seize the power by being disruptive, having a plan, and executing your plan, right? I think our generations, the young people got caught up with BLM, and the idea said Black Lives Matter, and getting people to follow a slogan, but not having a slogan with a political agenda strong enough attached to it. And since that's what they've seen, the presumption is that young people can't do it. The reality of it is that's not true, because we see what happens when people want these folks to stand up for the war inside of Israel. Well, guess what the young people on college campuses started doing? They started protesting, they started showing up, and they didn't need us adults to tell them what to do. And if you don't believe that African-American children went out there with their white and other counterparts, then you just have to pay attention to it. It's just that we have to raise the expectation. That's one thing. And the other thing about the NAACP, and I want to land on this, and this is very important. That's just the start of it. You have to do more than not just invite him. The NAACP has to find out a way to use their legacy and their power to leverage more broad discussion and dialogue on how we can advance under this regime, and also how we can protect each other while advancing under this regime. I saw two young Latino boys go to ICE, or the ICE headquarters in Chicago, with their mother, who's an undocumented worker. They went because they said, hey, if their mother was summoned, and they were, I think she was an immigrant. Let me make sure I say it right. She's an immigrant, but they knew that they were calling people in, stripping their rights, and then deporting them. They showed up with their mother in their uniform, and they were determined that, hey, their mother was not about to be snatched. That's how people have to show up. The idea of just watching, you'll never be able to live it down if you just watch. Part of the problem is that we normalize cowardice. We've normalized cowardice. We've made cowardice. People want to be cowards. It's so simple to be a coward amongst us now. There's no shame of being a coward. We have to make sure that people are really looking out for the greater good of humanity and not self. And Sister Rashi, the point that I want to make sure that we make clean to young people always is doing right does not always mean that you get a prize, you get a paycheck, or you even get some type of acknowledgement. Doing right just means you do right because it hits your soul right. And it makes
Nor that it's always easy.
Or is it always easy? No, it's not always the easiest thing. And then you sometimes doing right means it comes with a loss. It is a consequence in doing right. But if we don't teach that it is a consequence in doing right, if we don't teach that you're gonna take some L's doing right, but the win is a lot better, and the win may not be for you. It may be for somebody that you never see. If we don't start making that a part of who we are culturally, and I like the language that she used. She said clean. Make it clean. Who do you vote for? Why do you vote? That part has to be a part of what the NAACP, in my opinion, do moving forward. Great. You didn't invite them. Great. You stated the reason why. Now, great. What do we need to do as Black folk who make up 99.9% of your membership to get ourselves better? Because I'll tell y'all, my issue with the Target boycott is they have not yet came and said what's the game plan? We boycotted. Is the goal to break Target? Because if we break Target, then what?
Wally World, Costco. Shouts out to Rodney Smith with the Costco drives.
No. I hear Costco. I hear Wally World. I hear all of that. But what's the ask? You got to always have an ask.
The ask is economic. Wait, what's the Kwanzaa principle? Economic development and unity amongst collective work, collective economics, I believe it is.
But
it's either Ujima. Whatever it is.
But is that your ask or is that Jamal Bryant's ask? Because my thing is, what is Jamal Bryant's ask? Nobody's asked that. And this is the problem. We got a celebrity in chief, and now we got another celebrity telling us about a boycott. If we don't get our asses off these damn celebrities, because they don't have anything unless it's somebody who's behind the curtain talking to Jamal Bryant. Nobody's asked that question. These are questions you have to ask. I'm not saying that I care whether we shop at Target or not, but I do think that we need to have what's the goal? Because if we don't know the goal, and because it started off as a 40-day boycott, just want to make sure we keep this clear. It was a 40-day, and we kept going. But what is the goal? The goal shouldn't just be that you treat us fair or that you hire us, because they can hire us and fire us too. They say, all right, y'all, jobs are back in. But we got
everybody hot.
Hey, listen, man, come on in. Let's get this money going. We're going to fire y'all in 3 years. Everybody out. DEI.
Well, they short a bunch of money. And their image, they brand, because in America, it's your brand, right? Your brand is everything. So they have a tarnished brand. They short some money. There's a decrease in people who even want to sell in their stores because they know. And it is kind of with a little bit of hubris because, hey, Kmart is gone. And so is, who else was there? It was Kmart. It was Ventures, Marshalls, Sears, Macy's, J.C. Penney. All of these mega people, they have come and gone. So what would make a Target think that they're beyond?
I live in the state of Minnesota where the Target headquarters is. If this started with George Floyd in our state, and you kill one of our cash cows, because I think the conversation that people kind of keep on jumping over, and I keep saying this with the whole thing with all of this. You forgot the impacted people. Sometimes Jamal Bryant is from where? Target is in our back. Target is 2 miles away from me. You got to go far to go to the Target headquarters, right? Like in my neighborhood, pretty much. Once you break them, it's going to be a lot of Black folks in Minnesota without a job that work at the headquarters. Yeah, you broke. And guess what? I'm glad you named all those other places, but Walmart headquarters is in the South. It's not up Arkansas. Here. It's in Arkansas, right? And they don't have good racial. They're not doing diversity, equity, inclusion. My point of what I'm saying is, it's not about being pro-Target, anti-Target. I'm going back to your comments about things needing to be clean. What's the mission? What is the goal? Because how do we push this CEO, the board, whatever, to what our goal is if we don't have demands? If our only dialogue is we're just not shopping, then something has to be spelled out. And if it's not spelled out, I would hate to tank Target because Jamal Bryant has an investment in another soon-to-be corporation that's going to hop on the scene, and he makes a windfall based off of the idea of this fever pitch, and nobody asked the question. This is a simple question to ask. What's the goal?
Well, he definitely had a goal with his weed. He's about to sell us some good old weed. He wanted his members to come and join and start growing and selling and investing in the weed industry. He thought that it was going to be our next, uh, it was going to be the next thing. And unfortunately, he got so much blowback. I think this again is a branding issue, like you said. His brand was, I don't want to preach to devout Christians anymore. I want to start luring people into the church and into the fold and flock who didn't believe in the power of Jesus, blah, 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 or have found their way away from Christianity as they knew it. So that was his goal. His goal was to galvanize those who didn't believe. But when that didn't happen under his weed plan, I believe economic, behaving as an economic unit became the underlying goal. So now, will you at least honor that, Brother Barry? That if we can all just stop buying one thing, dang, together, we just all stopped going one place to buy one thing.
I'm not tripping off of not buying, but like the brothers in the chat are saying, one, the Baptist preachers have already asked for their 300,000. That's one, and clearly they're not suffice with his response. Two, people asking what the goal is. I think anytime you ask people to go on a mission, and I know, Roddy, we had our conversation about the mission and the goal, but I don't think what we talked about when we were here aligns with Jamal Bryant. And I feel like that's the larger point, because him and Nikema Levy-Pounds, who's also here in Minnesota, in the backyard, they're now debating over who started the boycott. What? Oh, see, now you throw your arms up like this.
Who cares?
But like I said again, between the two, what's the mission?
But that's the celebrity bit, right? But look, we have 14 minutes left in the show. I don't want to get too stuck on this because we still need to go over the Iran-Israel conflict and the latest COVID variant. So we're on day 9 of the Iran-Israel conflict. There have been drones exchanged. There have been bombs exchanged. Hundreds of people have been killed in Iran. I don't know the numbers of Israel as of yet. Thousands of folks wounded. Again, don't know the numbers in Israel. Just know the numbers from Iran. The supreme leader, the Ayatollah in Iran, has already named 3 potential replacements just in case he is killed. I don't see an off-ramp for this. I see Israel actually annihilating Iran for the most part and potentially annexing Iran. Honestly, I just don't. I don't see an off-ramp for this. I don't, with no one stepping in to barter a treaty. I don't see it happening.
Is Iran still on the axis of evil?
Well, they are bad actors.
Do you remember the
axis of evil? You have to include the United States of America at this point in the axis of evil because of Trump. You know, him not pushing back on Putin in Ukraine is a problem for the world. So we have to include the United States of America, honestly, in the axis of evil right now. But I know they are bad actors.
Don't they have like Oppenheimer like power? Don't they have some of that mother of all bomb type behavior they can do?
No.
That's what supposedly we're trying to stop. Actually from getting a nuclear weapon.
So I think Bannon and the Tucker Carlsons of the world are going to get their way. And I'm looking at Gal. Is her name Gabbard?
Yes.
Yes.
That commercial that she shot, she clearly have never read the 48 Laws of Power. Never. Because when she poised herself as the hero of a nuclear explosion, that's a signal that she's preparing herself to run after this term is up. and B, it took Trump out of being the hero.
And that's why they're clashing.
And that's why they're clashing, and that's why he put her on the outs.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, what Trump said that her information, which was Israeli talking points, was wrong after Bannon came into the office and had a conversation with Trump. And they always say the last person who talks to him, that's pretty much what it is. I think that this situation, I don't think that they're going to be able to annex the Iranians, but I will say that they're going to do some damage to the Iranians. The Iranians are going to do some damage to them. And I believe that what's going to happen is not now. Something's going to happen some years from now. And this is going to be the precursor because they went too far, the Israelis, with this one.
Mm-hmm.
They went too far. And them going too far, it's not going to be under Trump. It's going to be under the next president. The tides always turn, y'all. And this is the part, this part of the world is such a crazy part of the world because peace could be achieved if one country really wanted peace to be achieved. How you treat the Palestinians is part of the problem. And then also how you manipulate, spy, and do other things on the rest of the world is a problem. I do want to say this, and then I'll hop off of this topic. I worry that the Israelis will manipulate us into war by pulling some Boston Tea Party style antic on the United States. When you look at the Israelis and you look at the Iranians, they look like siblings. And it's easy to get some of their military gear, recreate some of their weaponry, and then attack the United States and then say it was Iranians who did it. And that's what we would need to get us in. And I feel like Israel has always manipulated us. I feel like they've always lied. And I've always felt like they've meddled in our business here on our soil. And I believe that that's what's going to happen. But I do feel like that there's going to be some things down the road that they're going to have to pay for because of what happened under this administration.
I agree with you, Rodney. Go ahead, say what you typed.
Well, the first thing is the tail wagging the dog. And this is historically what presidents do when publicity at home is too bad. Whether you're talking Bill Clinton or George W. Bush, even Ronald Reagan for that matter, is what we're seeing with 45 is there was a lot of bad news with Elon Musk, with the Epstein files, the tariffs,
And the budget.
just the big ugly budget. All of these things were coming out. His numbers were tanking. I believe he got down to 39% or lower with a trajectory of going down, and the tariffs really haven't kicked in across all sectors yet. So to divert our attention to what's going on here, it's the okey doke or the banana in the tailpipe, whatever metaphor you use. So now we rally the people around this war effort against this bad actor. One of the things that he didn't take into consideration is the long reach of terrorism that Iran has. Also, Iran supplies Russia with a good percentage of the drones that they're using against the Ukraine. So if you take out Iran, you cut off weapons supplier to Russia. And I don't think Putin would be too happy with 45 for doing that, since 45 is his lapdog. Iran is a vassal state of Russia. So I just don't see this working out well. But just keep in mind, the tail wagging the dog is a true, tried, tested, proven concept or tactic that presidents use when things are looking really bad for them.
Distract, 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 distract.
Well, fellas, I'm going to end with give my last closing statement. I wanted to make sure that we talked about, you know, I'm always with some educational. If you're around children and you watching them just sit there with that screen, you watching them just sit there on the couch or just lay there. please reorient your nephew or great nephew or great grandchild or whatever they are to you, just the neighbor's kids. I don't care. Make sure that you have, if nothing else, a pack of Uno cards or some. I don't know. I don't know how we gonna work this. But know that make the children in your purview know that you want them to read this summer. You want them to build something this summer. You want them to go on a hike and travel and walk this summer. You want them to come on, y'all. What did y'all get up to in the summer other than beat your fight
Some
and play
mathematics.
basketball with your cousins? It's
They need
because please,
mathematics.
yes, we want you to go to the community center and play basketball. We also want you to we want you to try to cook, you want to try to get them young people to learn how to cook. Oh, I'm sorry. We want them in the garden. Get them a patch of land. Donate. You say, here, this is what you want to grow. What do you want to see happen at the end of the summer? Please, with my last 2 minutes, 1 minute, please make sure that you are not allowing a young person in your sphere of influence to spend the next couple of months not gathering or applying or being inquiring about information.
Okay.
Please get them in the library, get them to the zoo, get them to the museum, take them grocery shopping with you, show them what the difference is, take them couponing. You understand? Show them how to work America. Because in a minute, you're going to have to be a work, like you said, we got to wake up, right? This is not an adult situation. Even the children are going to have to wake up a little bit. All right, fellas, y'all have a
Cool.
fantastic, fantastic Juneteenth weekend.
All right, 3 minutes left. What you got, Thomas?
Oh man, it's been so good this way, man. I just can't wait to talk to you brothers offline. Look, y'all, man, just be safe out there. Enjoy the weekend. Keep your head on the swivel. When MLK talked about love and love of self and how to beat white supremacy, this is what this boils down to. How much we love each other, and not just the lazy love, but the love that we step up and we protect each other, that we educate each other, that we share with each other. That's the only thing that's going to get us through this. The idea of individualism has to go out the door for us. We have to talk in collectivism, and we can't be shamed about it. This idea that we're not monolithic, man, it is almost the word that phrase is almost as worse as the term player hater, because we use that term to escape collectivism all of the time. We're not a monolith. You know what? On a lot of things, we need to be a monolith collectively. And so that's what I want to share with you all. But enjoy your day. It's hot outside. Be somewhere where it's cool, as well as get some hydration in, because I ain't going out there. I was supposed to go to an event. I forgot with the NAACP, but I ain't going. I'm chilling. I got worse to do.
Gotcha. Rodney, what you got?
Martial law is not coming. Martial law is here.
It's here.
And if we don't want to be consumed by all of this, we have to get more active and don't depend on other people to fight for our liberation. Our liberation belongs to us, and we should be willing to fight for it.
I wanted to get this in before I close out. So there's a new COVID variant. It's supposed to give you razor blade throat. It's supposed to feel like shards of glass in your throat. Please be mindful of that, family. California has been hit up with this pretty big. They've been under threat of it since May. 55% of the cases in the state as of right now are portions of this. Are from this variant. It is of the Omicron, and it's the Nimbus variant. Again, please be careful if you're out there traveling, doing your thing, gathering with a lot of people from out of town, so on and so forth. Look, we got all of it in pretty much. You know what I'm saying? It was good to have everybody back. As always, we say about this time, if ain't nobody told you it, we love you, and a damn thing you do about it. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. We're on both. We're also on Facebook as well. Until next week, family, as we say about this time, peace.
All right.